Rain splattered against the windows of the alchemy hall, and thunder rumbled, rolling over a rod. Pashara gazed out of the window and at the gloom outside. She was helping Magi Adrilla in the making of a certain rare potion. She had volunteered. She had nothing else to do anyway. She was seated next to a cauldron. The liquid within had just begun to simmer, strange blue fumes rising from the surface. It gave off a sharp metallic smell, making her slightly nauseous. Adrilla was stood next to a desk, bent over a book. "Let's see," Adrilla read out loud. "Once the concoction begins to simmer." Pashara continued to gaze at the window, looking now at her own reflection. She saw her dark skin, her long, black, curly hair, and her brown eyes. It was all slightly distorted in the glass. Her mind darted from thought to thought. A flash lit up the grey outside, and the crack of thunder followed shortly behind. "Add the thasmal, please," Adrilla said. Pashara's eyes went to the swaying trees, their leaves quivering in the torrent. Her gaze then fell on her own reflection once more. Her face lit up by the light of the room, contrasting the dull grey light that held the day in a choking grip. Her mind wandered away from the storm and on to another storm entirely. The news had hit the city, and gossip had spread like wildfire. An Elrian noble in a Dairian prison, and that he was to be executed. "Pashara, the thasmal," Adrilla said again. "And be careful with those, Pashara. They're volatile." She uttered, nodding. Adrilla sighed. "You're thinking of them, aren't you?" Pashara didn't answer. "I now wish we had never sent them." "Why did you?" Adrilla was silent for a while. Huldra assured us that it was the best course. It seems even her sight has its limits. "There must be something we can do!" Pashara yelled, her patience on the matter spent. "We are doing everything we can, Pashara. His Majesty has already called up the Dairian ambassador. I am certain that the Grand Duchess will see reason. The repercussions will be dire on her and her people. She is cruel, that is true, but not dumb." Pashara was silent again. Outside, a guard walked by on the street, back and neck bent. "The matter is in the hands of other people. We can do nothing. It's best that we keep our minds on other matters. Keep them occupied. 3 sharp knocks came from the door. Adrilla went to open it. A younger man, one of the guild's servants, stood there. Magi Adrilla, the Archmage requests your presence in his office. It's about Mage Thaelen, he said. Thank you. You can tell Archmage Emran that I will be there shortly. The man nodded. Suddenly noticing Pashara, he said, Magi Huldra has requested that Mage Pashara participate. A strange request, Adrilla said. But I think that's fair, seeing the circumstances. The man then bowed and left. Adrilla returned to the cauldron. Let's finish this, then head up. They entered the office. Emran sat at his desk. His hair was uncombed, and there were dark bags under his eyes. The office was gloomy, lit only by the faint flicker of candles on the desk and drawers around the room. Not even the fireplace was currently lit. Before the desk stood 4 chairs. 3 were occupied by Thaelen, Huldra, and Egil. All but Huldra seemed like they hadn't slept for a while. The old woman had a slight smile on her lips, and her closed eyes were fixed on Pashara. Please take a seat, Magi Adrilla, Emran said. She bowed and seated herself next to Egil, her husband. Pashara settled down in one of the armchairs next to the fireplace. I have called you here due to a new development in recent events. Pashara felt sorry for Emran. The events were bad for her, all right, but they were far, far worse for him. Thaelen has escaped. Relief washed over Pashara. The rain outside seemed less drab. She could once more breathe easily. Good news at last, Adrilla said, letting out a long sigh of relief. Thaelen nodded in agreement. Good indeed, Egil said. We should never have sent them on this quest. But at least they are safe. Did you foresee this, Huldra? I did. Then why didn't you tell us that he would be safe? Could have saved us, Emran especially, a lot of worry. Because, Egil, none can foresee what will happen. Only what might happen. I also foresaw other outcomes. Less good outcomes. I am happy that those were false ends. Emran seemed unamused by her answer. Huldra, please, next time you ask me to make such a decision, tell me more about what might happen. Thaelen. He trailed off. Huldra's expression changed. Her smile vanished. Of course, Emran. I am sorry. None spoke for a while. The rain drummed against the window, and a flash lit the room for a brief moment. And some seconds later came the boom of thunder. How did he escape? Thaelen asked, breaking the silence. It seems that he had help. Emran answered. Taela, obviously, but also from a priestess and a guard from Dayrol. Most peculiar, Thaelen commented. I wonder what the reasons for helping were. Who knows? But at least let us thank the gods that they did. Not to be rude, Archmage, Adrilla began. But Thaelen's escape can't have been the only reason for summoning us. Is there anything else? Yes. The second reason I've called you here. I gained a letter from the Grand Duchess herself. She wants to know why we broke her trust, and has requested that representatives of the guild explain our reasons to her in person. A letter won't do, according to her. And why haven't you called together all the Magi? Egil began, seeing that this is a matter that concerns all of the guild. Well, for one, Alok, Tendel, and Halmar are all away on other business. And this is a pressing matter that cannot wait. I also thought it better to only call the innermost people together. Which now seems to include Pashara. Why did you request her presence, Huldra? Egil asked. The old woman's smile returned. Because she, if she so chooses, should follow me as my assistant on the journey to Dayrol. Pashara sat up. What? You're volunteering to go to Dayrol, Huldra? Emran asked. Yes. And she should join me. Is she also in danger, Huldra? Egil asked, clearly upset. This time I can truthfully say that I do not know. Some events are revealed to me, others not. But her presence is in all paths I have seen. All paths I have seen. Stop speaking in riddles! Huldra smiled at Egil's anger. What have you seen, Huldra? Thaelen asked. That she is to journey with me to Dayrol. Yes, but what else? Egil jumped in. Don't just leave us in the dark when people's lives are at stake. Calm yourself, my love, Adrilla interrupted. It's no use trying to squeeze water from a rock. Egil's face contorted. Then he sighed, shaking his head. Of course, Huldra began. It is up to Pashara if she wants to join me. Yes, of course I would. I mean, It would be an honor, Magi Hildra.
I'll go as well, Thaelen said. The Grand Duchess wouldn't be all too happy if Hildra was the only one of the Magi going.
Speaking of that,
Emren began.
Hildra, do you really think it is wise that you should go? Last time she yelled at you, telling you to never return. What seems unwise now can be wise tomorrow, she responded. Besides, I would very much like to put her in her place a little. Remind her that there are those of greater power than her in this world. Please don't be rude, Magi Hildra, Adrilla said with a sigh. We don't want to make the situation worse. I shall be no more rude than I need to be. You have my word. I am serious, Magi Hildra. So am I. Please, Hildra, Emren said. We need to handle this with tact, not brash actions. Hildra said nothing, but nodded. How long till we leave? Pashara asked, trying her best to hide her excitement. Well, the formal procedures will take a little time, but within a few days, I would guess. Emren answered. Pashara nodded. Aegul now turned to Emren. Archmage, I forgot when we spoke earlier. Have you heard anything from Halmar?
Has his investigations bore any fruit?
None yet, Aegul. Hopefully this journey to La'id of his will give results. Aegul nodded. We should search here as well. The guards have reported strange activities near the great temple.
You think this group is going to strike at the temple, Aegul?
Thaelen asked.
I don't know.
But figuring out who this group is of the highest priority.
Indeed,
Thaelen agreed.
But we need to be careful. This reminds me too much of the Black Cult.
You think they are involved? Adrilla asked.
No, they were destroyed. I myself brought down their final hideout. But this group is using much the same tactics. But we know far too little as of now to make any kind of conclusion.
The rumble of distant thunder echoed from outside, breaking up the conversation.
Whatever happens,
Thaelen said,
we have to be very, very careful.